Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sasha Star. It's a Saturday's chess program on IBM TV, and I would like to immediately introduce my esteemed guests. First of all, it's Grandmaster Suat Atalik. Then we have esteemed professor of University of Buffalo, International Master Ken Regan. And we have lovely Mihail and Marin and Maria Yugina from Romania. Welcome to our show. You're
great to be in this company
every time, and we start with showing your latest things. However, today we'll start something different. Today we have a birthday boy. It's Grandmaster Suat Atalik. Happy birthday!
That's right. Oh, I haven't said hi via Facebook yet.
Let's maybe sing together. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to
you guys. Thanks.
Happy birthday, dear Suat. Happy birthday to you.
I felt like I am with Smyslov and Storsky in the same room.
Yeah, well, I know people who have tried to rehearse choirs by Zoom. It's not easy.
It's not easy. No.
I will somehow isolate Lajos. Lajos I like more, by the voice and by many things. But you impersonated a little bit of Smyslov and Storsky singing.
I've had my own experience. You can find it somewhere on IBM TV. In a few months ago, I had as my guest the singer. He's a concert singer by his name Igor Portnoy, and we were trying to do together a number from the musical Chess, the anthem. So he was singing, and I was playing piano, and we did it on this program. For some people, it may be a great thing what we were trying to do, but I was not satisfied because there was a disconnect between what he was singing and what I was playing. So, and I can't figure out what listeners were hearing at the time, because to me it was quite awful, and I gave it up because I don't understand how to improve on it. So I decided to leave it for better times, and maybe we'll try it once again.
Yes. No man, no madness, though their sad powers may prevail.
Exactly.
Can possess, conquer my country's heart. They rise to fail. I could go on.
Well, that's
my wife and I met in the choir, so.
Maria, do you sing?
No. But when I sing, my include my pet go out.
Actually, I like whenever I go somewhere to take a shower or whatever, then Maria takes her. Okay, it's actually my old guitar, and she plays and sings. But when she hears that I return, she stops because
I know about my song talent. I really know.
You remember movie Woody Allen From Rome with Love?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
There is an absolutely fantastic segment of the movie about the a singer who could sing only in showers. He could not sing otherwise. So he invented a device that he could bring the shower on stage. So he would sing in an opera house while being in a shower. It's quite a movie. I really like. Well, Maria, if you don't sing, so at least show us your latest work. We will really enjoy it.
Okay, my my painting with this one, I was start make chess painting, and this girl, my start kind of style, kind of Klimt, Gustav Klimt.
Yeah, Klimt is there, and
the color.
French release, yeah.
Wow, she has long fingers.
And another one painting with Chicago and with the digits.
Oh, wow. That's a dream. Oh, that's Chicago. Yeah, the Bean in Chicago.
Oh,
Win the city.
the colors are fantastic.
Yeah, that's
Maria,
the reflection of chess.
The game, very interesting game because this kind of Rentgen and this
Pin.
not pin, okay, F6.
It's a pin. It's a pin. Yeah.
Yes, F6 is a very kind of problem on the F6.
wow, that's really a really amazing painting, and thank you so much.
That is beautiful.
I hope once you will have a real chess exhibition with all your chess paintings, because you're the rare artist who is doing so many beautiful, colorful chess-inspired paintings. It's absolutely incredible. Well, we had today heading was and still is, I believe, Deconstruction of Kasparov. Okay, what it is? Vladislav Tkachiev, unfortunately, he is not here with us for some probably personal reasons. I would hope he is all right, and hopefully we'll see him next time. He ventured in a very interesting area, as I described it last time, and he was here last time. Essentially, Kasparov, by being so tremendous chess, so I wouldn't even say a player, he's a chess figure, he's a history of chess, yet he's still present with us, he's still alive, and he's very influential, even still over the board when he sometimes ventures to play some, whether it's a Fischer rundown or some rapid or blitz chess or so. He's still formidable. He's still a very strong player. And of course, he is influential in chess organization, chess politics. However, we are forgetting what a chess player he was. And what Vladislav did, he reconstructed, and he's still doing that because he just started from the very beginning when the first games were published when he was only 12 years old. Of course, today's standards, 12 years is nothing spectacular. There are already grandmasters at 12 years old or so on. But back in 1975, 12 years playing against people like Polugaevsky, who was at that time probably in top 10, if not in top 5 players, and other very strong grandmasters. Of course, it was something at that time.
Don't forget that in those years, becoming a grandmaster meant the same thing by numbers, meaning to make 3 nodes equivalent to a 2600 plus rating performance. That time it meant to play like a player from top 15. Now it's to play like a player from top 150. So it's not the same thing. I mean, to become a grandmaster at the age of 13 or 15, like Fischer really did, and to become a grandmaster now at 13, it's really not the same thing.
Well, you can Ken, maybe you can elaborate. Is there a certain deflation of the grandmaster title?
I disagree with it. My work does not show rating inflation. It shows actually a very minimal, moderate rating inflation during the 1990s. And, however, that can be completely explained, I believe, by the fact that time controls became faster and by the cessations of adjournments. So what I measure is the objective quality of the moves in the massive games played in a given year. So you would expect that if people are playing slightly faster time controls, the quality would go down. But then in the 1910s, I have an opposite movement, that the quality has in fact sprung back. Now, maybe time controls have become slower again. I notice a lot of tournaments have, game 195, the way I reckon the time controls. So 2 hours, 1 hour, and then 15 minutes, and there's an increment too, even sometimes. Or 150 plus 15 seconds per move is game 165. So maybe that is simply reset for the amount of thinking time. But in any event, people claim there has been inflation of 150 points, and that would absolutely show in my data if true, and it does not. So relatively speaking, you can say there is inflation because there are so many more elite players. But the way I put it is that for raw quality, today's players deserve their ratings.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't mean ratings inflation. I meant inflation of a grandmaster's title. Then I remember times
yeah,
it was like maybe 30, 40 grandmasters, and today is over 1,500 grandmasters.
Right. But has that number stabilized? Because a paper that I co-wrote with Grandmaster Bartek Macheya and Guy Howarth basically predicted that the number would stabilize as of 2012, 2013. And has that been true? I haven't been keeping track of the numbers.
I see. Very interesting observation. And of course, someone mentioned that there are more billionaires in the world than there are grandmasters.
That's probably true, yes.
That's probably true, right?
Even now, yes.
So the grandmaster's title still has its prestige, and of course, we always appreciate people, especially like you are here on the program, your titles. And now what I'd like to do is just not to get away from our theme about the deconstruction of Kasparov. I want to show you one game. I'll share the board now. It's a very little known game played when Kasparov was only 12 years old, believe it or not. And he played one of the strongest juniors at the time. And in Soviet Union at that time were very, very strong junior players. Okay, I hope it works. Okay, can you see the board, please?
Yes, we see it, yes.
Excellent. Okay, then I will show the game. So Kasparov played white, and he played against Dmitry Zaid, who was one of the strongest juniors at the time. He was older than Gary. But at that time, I believe there was no division on juniors like today. It's 10 up to 10 years old and under 12, under 14. There were, I think there was one class under 18.
No, 16 it was. It was the cadets until 16, and then the juniors until 20.
Okay, so he was competing against essentially 16 years old players. So let's just try to see the game. So Gary played very modern line in Najdorf. Okay, what's happening? Oh,
it blocked, yeah.
I got stuck. How is it possible? Oh, okay. I understand.
It was a lag, yes. But we understand.
Something to do with internet connection. Okay, this position is familiar to all.
No, it's not familiar because there are double pawns on the e-side.
So it's not familiar position, right? Pawn from C7. Okay, let me try one.
Start again.
Maybe I will get luckier this time.
Maybe you get 3 pawns on the e-side.
Okay, I will try to do slower. Maybe that's... Okay, I get stuck here again.
Right? Just wait.
Okay, yeah. Okay, we are waiting. That's never happened to me. Okay, what I'm going to do, let me stop this, and I will try to reload this chess. I was sure that everything is ready to go, as I usually do, but not this time.
Oh yeah, we are, yes.
Well, I'm so sorry for the delay here. Interestingly enough, I've heard just before we started today's program, I've heard very, very interesting interview by Vladimir Kramnik on the Russian program. So it was in Russian, but he's telling us in this interview everything what transpired for his match to Kasparov, and he filled the void because I think we discussed it once on the program how it happened at this time that it was Kramnik was playing this match with Shearer, and he lost that match, and then
it was good for him because he got money for it.
Well, it's not, according to what I heard today, it's not the full story. When you're talking about money, money is a very peculiar thing. It's not just money, it's very important how much money. What do you yeah, it was interestingly enough. You know what was the prize fund for this match? The prize fund for this match was, sorry?
With Shirov or with Kasparov?
No, Shirov Kramnik match, just this alone. What was the prize fund? You know?
200,000 for the loser, I believe, no?
Well, yes, it was 200,000, but at the beginning it was agreed that each player, whether win or lose, will get $100,000. And a winner on top of it will also get a match with Garry Kasparov.
Okay. But
then when Shearer started communicate with Kramnik, and they discussed this match, they both agreed that it's not fair, because in fact, because the winner of the match, Garry Kasparov, there will be at least $500,000 for him, maybe much more. So it would be unfair that the loser gets only $100,000 and the winner will get probably well over $500,000 or so on. So they decided between themselves that the loser will get $200,000 and the winner will get match with Garry Kasparov. You know this story, do you?
No, this I didn't know, but now that you told me,
well, that's what Kramnik said, and I heard that just about an hour ago.
No,
so
it sounds very reasonable that actually Kramnik suggested this, and Shirov was stupid enough to accept, not knowing what was going to happen. I don't know. It's very tricky.
It's very interestingly enough, and you know, it's kind of in a dark zone which people tend to not to discuss much. Very little written about that. There were a lot of talk back and forth between Rentero, who was the organizer of the match. He was supposed to organize Kasparov's match against the winner, and so on. So what he's saying is that they agreed on $200,000 going to a loser, and the winner gets match with Garry Kasparov. Then something interesting happened. They were supposed to sign contract. They told about this agreement to Rintera. He says, I don't care, it's your money. You can split it any way you want. So he agreed to that. So now it was time to sign contracts. And guess what? It was a very difficult exercise. Shearer, he lived in Spain at that time already. And obviously he knew Spanish, and Rentero spoke only one language, which was Spanish. So Kramnik asked Shearer to take care of all these negotiations and so on. And Shearer sort of like agreed, but he was not really active in that. He was busy with many other things. So Kramnik understood that he has to do it all himself if to get anywhere. So he hired one law firm, and they prepared a contract. And then he had difficulties to sign the contract. Rentero was busy, he was out of town, then his secretary was out of town, then everybody was out of town. So he couldn't get the contract signed. That was very, very discouraging, to say the least. So finally they agreed when they will come to the match, they will sign contracts right there, and that will be the end of the story. Well, guess what? They came, the contract is still not signed, and nobody really cares about it. So they played 3 games, and Kramnik made it very clear that he will will play one more game, the fourth game, and then he will leave. He doesn't want to play without signed contract. And guess what happened? He's losing fourth game. So now, once he lost fourth game, now it was not a good time to leave, because apparently he would, first of all, he would be perceived as a loser. Second of all, obviously, he would not get any money. And that was the worst case scenario for him. So then what to do? Well, he decided to continue the match and at least maybe to equalize the score or so on. But as we know, result was he lost the match.
Short was the last game, I believe, no?
Yeah, that's right.
He played very sharp. The last game was wide, but yeah, he lost. I mean, they both played sharp. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I found even better game. Maybe another one I'll show you later. But this is even better game. You know why? Because this game he was playing against Donchenko, who is the father of Alexander Donchenko, who lives in Germany, and who will be playing a contest on our side in 2 weeks against Suat Atalik. So please be prepared. And Mihail will make commentaries on this game. I'm really looking forward to it. So this game was played when Kasparov was 12 years old. Donchenko was very, very strong master at the time. He was one of the strongest Moscow masters.
I might have played with him. I believe I played some Donchenko in somewhere in Estonia in 1819. 89.
Yeah, he was strong, and his former wife Valeria Donchenko, she lives in Israel now, and she's quite active. She's playing in tournaments, although she's quite old, of course, but she still enjoys chess. So, so far, classical opening, and
we don't see anything. You have to share.
Oh, wait! It's my problem. I didn't share the board. Okay, let me. I'm enjoying it myself.
Incidentally, I just want to pop in as before we talk about the deconstruction of Kasparov, we can talk about the deconstruction of Carlsen today. Duda ending his 125 game streak, where there was an article in the Guardian about it, and I think there is a relevant connection.
We'll talk right after this. We'll talk about it. I'm wondering, are you seeing screen now?
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, I will not go in the first moves because you know all that. So it's Uri Lopez main variation, and now okay, I'm trying to set up the way so everybody can see. Okay, maybe that's better. Okay, so let's continue the game. So far, classical chess or cheese, any way you want it. Okay, here is very important moment. So Kasparov, when he was 12 years old, he was so confident, and he's playing b5, which many consider not the best continuation for white, yet he is overly confident in his powers, and he's playing this move.
By the way, Karpov also likes to block the position.
Yes, Karpov did it as well. So maybe it's not such a bad move after all. If both Karpov and Kasparov were playing that, maybe it's not such a bad move.
But c4 was premature, I believe. Knight c4 probably was okay.
Yeah.
Well, there are many moves. There is Bishop d7 as well, but also he did it against Matanovic in Bugoyna later. So, so far, the game is going its usual style. However, now look at this move. Now Kasparov consolidates his position. Black doesn't have any active counterplay so far. And now he retreats with his knight because white was preparing c4, and it's quite embarrassing with knight on a5. So he retreats. But, you know, I mean, you know much better than I do that in all these positions, knight on b7 seems to be a little bit of a problem, especially before And Kasparov really shows it. 12 years old, but he's playing very solid.
Very mature play, yes.
Now, Dojik is trying to organize some counterplay, trying to go to his knight to c4, maybe a4, in some lines.
And probably black is not in time to play knight d8, f6, knight f7. Probably there are things.
Too much time. Yeah, that's what.
Or Rubinstein today.
Rubinstein, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's take time, you know. So now he's taking on c4. Not so bad for 12 years old. What do you think?
No, quite mature play, yes.
Very mature play. Now look at how he's playing around a file. He's trying to take control of a file. And now he's done it.
Yeah, that was good.
So now we can assume that white has control of the game. This is knight on b7, no counterplay. Now look at this g3, 12 years old guys playing g3 in this position.
After having reached the maximum of activity on the other wing, yeah. Now
If the on a6 is skewering the 6th rank, he can open the position. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he completely controls queenside, and now black is weakening his position considerably.
Yeah, this is terrible now.
And I think, okay. In this position, black
there is some combination now with exchange everything on g5 and then play knight takes d6, no?
Yeah.
Everything works, even maybe rook d6 works.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worthwhile pointing out that combination. Yeah, yeah.
So in this position, black resigned. What can you say? Actually, his style in this game is more like a Karpov style, not Kasparov, right?
Yeah, even though he didn't play bishop a7 like Karpov with Unziker.
Yeah, it was almost comic. I would say the same. But yeah, he played rook e2, so he could play bishop a7, but the other rook was on e1. That was really funny. I like with Unziker.
Yes. No, for 12 years old boy, of course, it was a very mature game.
It's a very mature game and a very clear positional style.
Talking about mature, there is this joke in Russia which Maria told me. Okay, the trainer is telling to the kid, to the young player, "You are the most talented. I am the most talented. You are the strongest. I am the strongest. You are the most mature. I am the most mature. You don't even know what it means to lose. I don't even know what it means to be mature."
It's a good one.
Okay, so maybe he didn't know what it was, but okay, he was.
He was. So this is a game which I was trying to show you before this one, and it failed, but hopefully this time it will not. So this is a game against one of the strongest juniors who was older than Gary. Now, I must confess that at that time, in this game, Gary was already almost 14 years old, so a bit older than 12. And but look at this style; it's very different from what we just saw. So it's one of the sharpest variation, Najdorf. And is it how you call it, poison pawn variation?
Yes.
And that what Spassky, I think, played against Fischer.
Geller, yeah, it was Geller's idea more.
Okay, he's trying to prevent bishop h5. Okay, but now there are different threats. And of course, he's avoiding to queen exchange. And now black has considerable weaknesses in the center, especially on the king side.
Yeah, this is fine for white. Yeah.
Look at at this move, King H1. Gary played it very successfully later on in his career too, but that's the first time that he tried it.
Don't
Now look at geometry of the pieces. Queen from d4 coming to a1. So consolidate his control on a file and also a diagonal a1 to h8.
But at this stage, I wouldn't feel that black is doing so badly. I mean,
it's still black is fine.
But maybe 95 was not the move because I saw that 95 is coming.
Yeah, black is no plan.
Yeah, I see in this position, Kasparov very energetically fighting for control of the diagonal.
Yeah.
And he puts all his pieces very energetically, and now he comes in the move e5.
Black's control over the dark squares is is over. So before you show the move 95, I just thought that I wouldn't play 95, even though the knight looks so nicely there. But there is this problem.
Actually, it would be wise probably to keep it for later. Maybe at some later stages, maybe you could play 95, but not at that time when Zaid was playing that. So in this position, black has to take, and now h5 is defenseless.
There is a variation in the poison pawn where white is a piece down.
Liberovic started,
to reach something like this. I mean, with a king like this.
Yeah, here he's 3 pawns down, but who counts the pawns in a position like this? Yeah, black has no plan, no defense.
Right. Did not have a plan before 95 either, unfortunately.
That's true. That's why he probably played 95. And now Gary is playing very forceful continuation, rook e6. And after bishop takes e6, bishop h5, of course, does the talking. He's getting his pawns back in the meantime.
Yeah, g8 hangs, yeah.
Oh, now look at this
Nice
geometrical move. Now both rooks are hanging now.
Yeah, okay, that's over. Yeah, let's see, resign.
It's over by now, yeah. Yeah, and there are a few more moves. Well, okay, we know what's going to happen very soon. Now, another very geometrical move.
Yes.
Well, bishop f6, then you take it, I guess, yes. Win black's queen, yeah, sure.
Well, there are a couple more moves, and it's the end of story. Now, queen is hanging, and black resigned.
Yeah.
Hopeless. So that's very interesting 2 examples of what Gary was 12, 13 years old. One is strictly very positional game against Donchenko, and another fiery attack. Maybe not 100% correct. I can't judge it, but again, if you're considering that he's 12, 13 years old, it's quite a decent game. By any stretch.
By the way, Zaid was considered to be a wunderkind himself, and I think he died in Israel, hit by a car, absent-minded.
Yes.
He was Vitolin's type of a guy, and he was pretty good. Zaid and Yunev, they were 2 very prominent juniors who never developed to be stronger players, and Yunev was very strong.
So I totally agree with you. And actually, in databases, I found a couple of games where he beat Gary quite soundly. So it wasn't that Gary was so much superior to him. Actually, he was not. Zaid was really, really good player.
No, Zaid was really good, really good.
He was very gifted.
But Vitolin's type, something not really working.
There was another such talent, but from Karpov generation, Steinberg.
Yeah.
Yes.
He also died young.
Yeah, Ukrainian. Yeah, it's a Steinberg, Vaganyan, and Karpov.
Yes.
They played some junior championship till Karpov won. I think.
No,
everyone
no. You know, I heard this story from some strong grandmaster from the Soviet Union, and it's not true. I checked it. I mean, it's very easy to say. No, the story goes that okay, they play a match tournament in 3, and we don't tell you when you stop. And after the first round, Vaganian is on the first place. After the second round, Steinberg. Then again, Vaganian, Steinberg. And when Karpov gets on the first place, they stop the tournament. It's not true. I have the 64 chess magazines from that time, and actually, what happened was that Belyavsky was also invited to play, but he was a bit younger, and his parents decided that, well, no, maybe he should not neglect school. So it was only 3 players, so they decided that instead of 4 times each against each other, like if with Belyavsky, they play 6 times. And if you look at the rounds, because this is covered in 4 consecutive magazines. Karpov was always on the top, so this is absolute.
okay, so it worked for Tolia.
No, I checked it because.
Oh, it's okay. No, it worked for Tolia. I mean, he was better than for some reason or another. Okay, Steinberg, I don't know what happened with him. You know, he was Ukrainian, yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure.
From Ukraine, I think.
I think he was Ukrainian for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, Vaganian, as we know, he was the dean of Armenian part, and I think Vaganian also participated. Like Kenneth knows better because in 76, 77 they were always coming with Romanishin, Vaganian, Mihail Sportman, all the Steves and Americans. There was you, the Fermian, and Fedorovich, and
Right, we were Jersey kids off the street for the most part.
Yeah, so it was, especially in this under 26, it was really very well fought. I think Caracas 76. And
that was fun too. Yeah. That we didn't put as much of a scare in the Soviet team in 1976, but 77 we did. But there was overall a very convincing win. I forget, did we win silver or did Cuba win silver in 76? I forget.
Yeah, that was also Garcia Gonzalez for Cuba, the late.
Right. Oh, yes.
He had some chances to become a candidate, yes, in
definitely in 82. Yeah, he was he spoiled. In 79. No, 79. In 79.
I think 82. I think it was Kasparov's interzonal.
Yeah, where Kasparov had also a shabby last round result against Anderson, which Kenneth will check the quality of the moves. It was
I actually ran 1977 recently, but I had a problem. The file I used didn't have the ratings, so I have to redo it, filling in the ratings manually. Otherwise, I get nothing.
But what do you say about the game with Anderson?
Yeah, Anderson, he was totally lost. His kicks in, it might be this 7. I mean, I don't know. Anderson, maybe he spaced out.
May I ask you, Ken, maybe you will enlighten us. On these 2 games that I showed by young Gary, what rating, at what strength he was playing these 2 games?
I would imagine close to 2,600 strength at least, but I'd have to measure it, my way. And even then, the error bars would be incredibly wide for just 2 games. So you but it looked like a very polished.
These games were good. Look, really, these games were good. But in my opinion, I had the chance to see him. The real Kasparov was between 82 to 82.
Yeah, Nikšić, the Nikšić.
Nikšić one and many others, like Graz and Bukoina.
I was at a tournament in New York City when Kasparov was playing at Nikšić, and it did cause a sensation, the way he burned up the field. I mean, that was our feeling, sitting way away in New York City. So,
yeah.
So he was really good. Or World Junior in Dortmund, But then after 82, when he started to be a candidate for the World Championship, obviously he had to change his style. He had to show more cautions. He was more cautious, and it's a it's very natural. I mean, just also the opposition became stronger, so they didn't allow him to play that good or after 83. So, but 81, 82 especially, it was a playing machine.
Yeah, he had some trouble against Smyslov. Did he play Smyslov? That's what I'm trying to look up right now.
Well, he defeated him 4-0 with some draws in their candidate final.
Right, but I think it required Kasparov to play more maturely.
No, but I believe that the only player who really challenged him Korchnoi, yes.
Korchnoi was a tough match.
And according to what I have heard, I mean, Korchnoi did exactly what he wanted to do. I mean, to show him who's who, and then just forget about the match of the fourth match with
I don't think that Korchnoi was looking forward to play yet another match with Scott. No, he had more than enough.
He even said it after 81. He even said it. So, I mean, Korchnoi was really and okay. Actually, Ivan Fischer he said to Vladimir Hort that I don't know when this happened. Probably in after 92. That okay, he was actually kind of happy that he had to play with Spassky the match. I mean, okay, the other didn't really count, but he said okay, it would have been more challenging if it was Korchnoi. No, Korchnoi was the kind of guy who could program himself and evaluate and whatever. But yeah, I think that okay, even if Korchnoi didn't lose on purpose, I mean that match was challenging for Kasparov. With Belyavsky, so it okay. I mean okay. With Belyavsky, he lost one game, but
it was a strange match with Belyavsky. Belyavsky heading for some sort of Tartakover or Queen's Gambit position with the pawn on d5 all the time and underscoring somehow. I don't know. It was I don't know. Belyavsky was not himself in that match.
No, he didn't put up any big resistance. Yeah, and Smyslov, okay. With Smyslov, it was just. I mean, okay, Smyslov. He qualified somehow. Luckily, yes. It was by roulette.
Ribley, yeah. He had with Ribley.
No. Against Ribley, he won a good match, I believe, against Ribley. But okay, it was Ribley. It was not Korchnoi.
It was Hübner. With Hübner, it was
the drawing
roulette table. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay, he drew the match with Hübner, which was not a little thing, let's say. But yeah, I mean, okay, it was okay. Of course, great performance by a player aged 63, I believe. But yes. For Kasparov, okay, it was no match.
There was no competition between two.
And it would have been no match for Korchnoi if Korchnoi had won the match against Kasparov. But yeah, okay, it just happened like this.
What was very interesting in this interview of Kramnik, when he let us know the story about his collaboration with Gary, because remember he was his second match tournament. And how it all happened. Gary actually saw Kramnik a great potential, and he was fighting for him to be included in the Soviet Union team on Olympiad in Philippines in 92. And it wasn't an easy battle. There were a lot of people who were opposing Kramnik to be in the team. But finally, Gary had his say, and he played brilliantly. He scored almost 100%. And then it was, Kramnik was busy with his own things, and Gary was busy with his life. And then one day in 94, I believe, Gary's mother phoned to Kramnik and asked if he would like to join them. They were somewhere in the resort. I forgot now exactly where.
In Croatia, an island, yes. An island in Croatia, maybe, yes.
Yeah.
Kirk, I think it was Kirk.
She asked him if he would like to join them for consultations, maybe play a couple of games, and so on. So, of course, Kramnik at the time, he's telling very, very funny stories. At that time, he was, he was not born in Moscow. So he was trying to make his life in Moscow. So he was renting some flats, some apartments, rooms, or whatever. He didn't even have a permanent address at that time. He was like really nobody. although he was doing quite well in chess already. So obviously he said, yes, of course, I'd like to join you. And he says, if anything, at least I will have a good food there. So he went. And indeed, he played a few games, Gary, and they were analyzing. And then Gary liked, I think Gary at the time was lacking. He had good coaches, but he lacked somebody of really very strong playing skills, the top grandmasters. So he had nobody of that caliber on his team. So Kramnik looked like a very good find for Gary at the time. And Kramnik saying, so when there was a match with Anand, Kramnik was not doing very well at the beginning of the match. He made a few draws. He was playing neither with black.
Kasparov.
Kasparov.
He lost the first game, yeah. I mean, the first decisive game of the match.
Anand won.
Yeah, Anand won the first decisive game in.
Yeah, it was 7.
Winning and neither. I mean,
exactly, but it's not only results of the game. He just didn't get anything out of the black in neither. Kasparov didn't get very pleasant positions, and it was very insecure situation at the time. And that's where Kasparov decided to play Dragon. And that Dragon actually won the match for him.
Yes, he won the game with novelty of myself. I played some new move in Andorra a few months earlier, and after this game, I understood Kasparov's game. I understood that I have to drop the Dragon because now everybody is going to analyze it. I have been playing the Dragon like this without analyzing much. I mean, just by for 2 years. I always play the Dragon in those 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. And I analyzed a bit, of course, but I was just, mating. And then Kasparov stepped in and said, okay, I have to move to something different.
Well, but anyways, the Dragon variation helped Gary a lot. Now, when Gary, before he first used Dragon in this match, so he said to Kramnik that, okay, it's about time I have to play Dragon because the other positions I don't like very much. So Kramnik, okay, let's take a look. And Kramnik was surprised that Gary was not really very knowledgeable about Dragon, and he was missing a lot of replies from Kramnik, and Kramnik was quite worried about playing Dragon, but it worked because probably Anand was not prepared to Dragon either, so it was a situation where it was, let's see, calculated risk, and it worked. But Kramnik saying that he was really surprised that Gary was not up to the speed, and his strength in Dragon was quite doubtful. However, it worked. And then what's happening was that then he's going into, he's talking about the basically situation was very, very complicated. I mean, he's saying that he's envy of today's top grandmasters, that they just going and playing chess and don't have to worry about anything, about the contracts, about dealing with organizers, and so on. They just get the invitation, they had good money, they're coming and play, and that's the end of story. Because in the 90s, very, very different situation in the chess world. First of all, there was a FIDE, which was getting helpless. Even before Ilubzhinov, it was getting quite helpless because Gary and Short left FIDE, so they had their own organization. So people had to make decision to play in this organization or that organization. And then, interestingly enough, when Ilubzhinov came on board and he organized his first ever this so-called World Championship with the $5 million prize fund, which was a very good development for chess. But there was one problem. Of course, at the beginning, he invited both Gary and Karpov, and he promised that both will start from semifinals. That's fine, but as you know, Gary immediately rejected that because he didn't want this type of tournament has to have meanings of really world championship. He believes that in world championship, it has to be a match between two players, world champion and challenger, and that's the end of story. There's no need for 124 players. Okay, so he refused to play. So this way, Karpov was elevated right to the final. Now, before that, organizers, he didn't mention their names, but there were organizers who wanted to organize a huge prize fund, a candidate tournaments, and challenger, whoever would win this tournament would play Garry Kasparov for a title. So obviously the candidates would be Kramnik, Anand, Shirov, and Topalov, probably a couple of 6 players altogether, even Chuk maybe, and Gelfand. I don't remember for sure. Yeah, probably. And so Kramnik agreed to that. And when they will start, the contracts were prepared and get to players, Kramnik figured out that there was one thing, that tournament will be played exactly the same time as Illumin's World Championship. So Kramnik said that, look, and they did negotiations one by one with separate each grandmasters who would play the tournament. And so Kramnik was told that everybody already agreed, everybody signed, so you're the last one who has to sign. Whether it's true or not, Kramnik said that, well, look, I don't want to be a person who will derail Illuminov's championship. He just came and he put $5 million, so I don't want to really derail that. However, I could agree that if I will play in this candidate tournaments, I will not play in the Illuminov's World Championship. So there's no problem that I will be playing in this tournament. I will not play in the other tournaments, but I'm against them held at the same time. That was his position. And for one reason or another, that tournament fell apart. However, Kramnik was against Karpov starting right in the final. Not only that, the final match, this happened to be Anand, it would start 3 days after the semifinal. So Kramnik was objecting that, and he said, okay, I will play if there will be 1 month between the semifinal and a final match. And he was told, yeah, no problem, there could be so the final contract had to be signed. It was still 6 days. And then Kramnik was invited for the FIDE meetings to have his presentation, and they would decide to change it to 1 month. So Kramnik arrived, and so there were presentations, and there were motions, and they were talking about all kinds of things except one of why Kramnik came to this meeting. So finally, on the last day, he said that, well, look, in 10 minutes, I have to go to the airport. Can you let me speak at least once? Oh, yeah, no, don't worry about it. But you don't need to speak about anything because we already decided everything. That's what did you decide? I came on your invitation, especially to address your meeting. They say, well, there is no need. Okay, we already know your position. It's okay. Okay, don't be so upset. It's not a big thing. And so obviously, after that, Kramnik couldn't play in this championship, and as we know, he didn't play. Then, of course, he's talking in details about this match with Shirov. So finally, he was so upset, especially he lost first game. He couldn't leave the match, so he had to play. And no, he's not trying to find sort of excuse why he lost match to Shirov. First of all, he's saying that Shirov was very, very strong grandmaster at the time. He could lose anyway. However, he was so upset with all these problems and negotiations and contracts and so on, so he was not really up to his 100% strength. Most likely it's true. And so we know the end result. So then Kasparov was trying to organize match with Anand.
But you understand that Shirov was in the same situation. I mean, they both were under some stress. So maybe Shirov just handled this better.
It could be. I think Sheriff, if he wants, Sheriff can, he's very eloquent and he can speak for himself. I don't think that he needs defenders.
No, but they didn't have the contract, is what I mean.
For some reason, because it appears to me that because Sheriff lived in Spain at the time, he was playing under Spanish flag. Mm-hmm. So I think in any case, Sheriff felt more confident about it. One way or another, the issue would be resolved. Maybe. I'm just speculating. I'm not trying to prove anything. There is something else. So finally, about money. It's not the issue of money. It's how much money. Yes, Kramnik was paid, but not $200,000. He was paid only $70,000, which hardly was enough to pay for his preparation for the match, for coaches, for seconds, for all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he was. Sorry.
He has a lot of expenses. Yeah.
He had expenses, obviously. So he was lucky to break even. And now in Shir's situation, he was supposed to get match with Kasparov. And by the time that it was getting close to the match, it was unfortunately, as Kramnik put it, they just couldn't find money for that match because Kasparov had overwhelming score against Shir. And the final prize was $500,000. That's all what this match was worth, according to organizers. And yet Kasparov agreed to play for this $500,000 prize for two players. So Kasparov would get maybe $300,000, Shirov would get $200,000. I don't know how they would split. But now Shirov refused to play. It's a mystery to me why he would refuse to play Kasparov, because, well, he was trying probably to get more money, but it wasn't. It was not realistic.
No, but basically, I believe that here Kasparov was not principled. I mean, okay, you create this. I don't know how it was called, ACP or whatever. You create this to bring more money in chess. You even managed to. Okay, first of all, you create this to play the match with short, which was some sort of formality for him, for a bigger amount of money than Campomanes could get. Then you even organize a cycle, just one cycle. Interzonal, some matches, okay, then he beat Anand, okay. And then you don't organize the cycle at all. You just ask Shirov and Kramnik to play a match. You give them the guarantee of $1 million, okay, of a match of $1 million. So it's basically for him, everything for him. I mean, not everything, but don't suppose that it's money for mainly for his match with some guy. And okay, you promised to get $1 million. I don't know. You have to put $1 million for Shirov. I mean, now that you expected Kramnik to win, it's another thing. But I mean, this was the agreement. So,
wait a sec. Are you proposing that Kasparov had obligations to deliver $1 million prize fund?
I mean, he created this parallel federation now, and he organized this. I mean, okay, he put these guys to play, and he promised this $1 million prize fund. I mean, don't you think that?
No, but in some way we have to go back to these times that he came up with some organization. So he had first GMA. Then he had PCA.
Yes.
And okay, in both cases, the board was not very happy with him, and he actually resigned his position.
That was with GMA. I don't think that there was any board in PCA. It was basically an organization headed by Gary and Short. Yeah. I don't believe that there was board. However, they did one wonderful thing for chess when Intel got on board and invested probably a couple $1 million, and they had this rapid tournaments in Moscow. which I visited at the time.
Which I played
New
myself.
York, yes,
Yeah.
and then in New York. So there was quite an undertaking, and all these tournaments were held, and the prizes were paid. So he's done his best. But then, when Intel stopped its sponsorship, he could not hold anymore these tournaments. Some people believe that because of his match with IBM influenced Intel's decision, but it's not proven, and we can only guess whether it's right or not. It's hard to say. But by the time that we are talking about 98 or so, the PCA was probably basically a shell. It was no longer functioning. It was no longer organizing any tournaments, paid any prizes, or so on. So basically, at the time, there was hardly an organization. So we can criticize FIDE and Ilumzhinov any way we want. But in Kasparov's situation by the 98, there was basically zero. There was no organization of any kind.
Yeah, I mean, he was not able, but okay, even what he promised, he couldn't cover. I mean,
but what exactly he promised?
But you understand that there is a problem. We have one guy organization where he played Kramnik. Already he was the organizer, arbiter, and everything, and he even lost it at that. You know, it's one of the most.
He promised that the winner.
Okay, it's arguable, but you can call him an organizer of match with Kramnik. Okay, we can accept that with some reservations. But he was not one who actually paid the prizes for this match. The money was coming from elsewhere.
But when he initiated the whole idea of a match between Kramnik and Anand, and okay, Anand rejected, and it was Shirov. This was the convention. Okay, it's 200,000 for this semi-final, and then it will be 1 million, at least 1 million for the final match. So as far as I understand, nothing of this happened.
Well, what happened is that at that time, I think Gary probably ran out of his sources as financial sources and organizations who would carry all that. So Rentera, in a way, became the only game in town. So now you negotiate with Rentera, who has his shortcomings, as we know, and but there was nothing else. So even this $500,000 what Gary found for this match with Shirov, it was in US. It wasn't Rentera's money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only thing what he could find. And it was a tough situation for Gary because Ilumzhinov started to throw millions of dollars into chess. You can criticize the system of these short matches and so on, but $5 million speak for itself. Mm-hmm. And Gary was not in a position to do anything on that magnitude. So the only thing what he could do, he couldn't organize interzonal tournament by that time. He couldn't organize candidate matches. He was trying, but players now had good inducement from Ilumzhinov, because even if you lose your first round match, you still get paid $5,000-6,000. So who needs Kasparov's and his either matches or so on when you can go to the Ilumzhinov's tournaments every year and get paid a few $1,000s here and there? So now people were not really supporting Gary's even like 3, 4, 5 years ago, 93 and so on. So now Gary was all he could do, and he was trying hard, in my opinion, to organize at least a match between Anand and Kramnik, and the winner would play him for the world title. So because it's still, you know what, Ilumzhinov, I think he made an error. If he would continue to organize normal interzonal, normal candidates tournaments, he would win against Gary easily, because all people would play in these tournaments. So there would be another world championship, probably Karpov would play Anand, or so. And even if Gary is a better player, but still the title would keep itself. So Gary then at one point, I think he would have to join back FIDE and start playing the normal matches. He would probably start this in candidate tournaments, maybe, or I don't know. Maybe they would play a match for absolute championship, if you want to call it that way. So anyway, that didn't happen. Anand We never heard from Anand really what's happened and why he never played, because he was supposed to play Kramnik and he refused. Then Gary challenged him to play another match and he refused that as well. It's really hard for me to understand his motivation unless he was induced by Illumination and FIDE. Just ignore it and not to play any matches against him.
No, but Anand played. I mean, in the previous cycle, he played in both cycles, in the FIDE and.
No. Hold on. Wait. You're talking about cycle 94, 95.
Yes. But
okay, no, I'm talking about different time. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about different time. I'm talking about 98, 99.
Yes.
That was
this is by nomination in 98 already. There is no system. There is no upcoming circle. It's just a nomination by Gary himself. And okay, people found him unreliable to some extent.
Well, okay, you know what? And if that's the case, that's why Anand refused to play Kramnik or Kasparov or anything. So essentially, Anand wanted, because look, Anand could play Kramnik or Gary and still play in the Illumination tournaments. He could do that. But I think that there is something else involved which we don't know. Because obviously his match with Kramnik would be quite lucrative for Anand financially, and never mind the match with Gary, which would be even more lucrative. And he refused to play both matches. There must be serious reasons why. We don't know these reasons, so we can only speculate, right?
No, maybe he understood what was going to happen. I mean, okay, maybe he just felt that he is not serious.
No, but Anand always wanted some security. It's just since the childhood. He was always going into the secure way, from his marriage to anything. It was always in the most secure way. He really reminds Capablanca in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. I think we are lacking some knowledge about motivation, why he wouldn't play if he wants to be secure, and he could play a match with. By the way, Kramnik told about his match with Gary. Kramnik, his law firm who represented him, got secured deposit in escrow. So even if match wouldn't take a place, he would still have his security. And Anand was offered exactly the same thing. He offered a secured deposit to his escrow account. So if the match for some reasons would fail, he would keep. So Anand refused to play both Kramnik and Kasparov. Okay, we just don't know real reasons. Okay, we can speculate all we want.
Definitely, but these are also very complex people. You have to really bring all of them together, and probably sort of a lie detector should be attached to all of them, and then we know the real.
By the way, before Kramnik agreed to a match with Gary, he phoned to Anand and told him that, look, I don't want to take your place. However, Gary told me that you refuse to play. If you will confirm that, then I will agree to play Gary. And Anand confirmed, yes, that's true. I was offered a match. I declined. I'm not going to play. Take my place or whoever plays, whatever plays, and just go ahead and play.
But in which moment did Kasparov offer him a match? After the match?
After the Linares tournament in 2000.
No, okay, but this was before the Shirov Kramnik match, because it was supposed to be Anand Kramnik.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I understand what's happening. We're mixing times.
Yes.
Okay, here is the timing. 98, Shirov played Kramnik. Shirov won the match.
Yes.
The rest of 98, Kasparov was trying to save the match with Shirov. He was trying to find the money, failed, found $500,000 in US, I think in California. Shirov refused to play. That match is over. I think Shirov miscalculated that Kasparov will try harder and found still $1 million. So he was under impression that there was still will be a match, probably on better conditions. So he refused. But he failed. The match never took place. So 99, Now, Shirov had a couple of bad tournaments at the time as well. In one tournament, he was last. So obviously, it became clear that this match will never happen. So if Shirov is not capable, or it's just not going to happen. So what Kasparov should play? Kasparov played last match in 1995. He needs another match because otherwise he's just a paper champion. Okay, he's becoming like next Fischer. Okay, Fischer quit chess, now Kasparov quit chess. Why Kasparov quit chess? He's still very strong. In fact, Kramnik is saying that exactly at that time, 95, 96, Kasparov became way much stronger than before because he was very good at working with computer and adopting the opening preparation or so on. And by around that time, he was unbeatable. There was nobody who could touch Kasparov at that time. So now, how come he's the farthest strongest player, but he has nobody to play with? So what to do? So once Shirov is out, now 1999. So 1999, Kasparov is trying to figure out who is going to play him. So there were far two the strongest players at that time by rating. They were both about the same rating and about maybe 10, 20 points below Kasparov. There was Anand and Kramnik. All the rest are much, much, much lower. So obviously he should play one of those two. So in figure out who is a challenger, the best way is them to play a match. So with all due respect, who needs the zonals and interzonals and candidates and all this championships, Olympiad of championships and all this stuff, when it was obvious that there are three players, Kasparov, Anand, and Kramnik, who were dominating, hands down, everybody else. So it still could be criticized, but it was very, very obvious decision to have them playing match, and the winner plays Garry Kasparov. You like it or not, but that's.
But we basically go back to the times of Lasker.
Yes.
Exactly. No, during the speech, I was really thinking about Schlechter, Lasker. When Schlechter, failed in one tournament,
yes,
they lost instead of 6 cities. They had down to 3 cities.
Exactly. He could win the last game and became a world champion.
No, but he needed to win the last game because if he won +1 the match, there would be a jury who would decide who played better. So it was obvious that it would be Lasker, even though he. So yeah.
So that was you're right in a way that from organizational point of view, we are coming back to Lasker's Capablanca's time. By the way, Alohin was under the same pressure. He had to find $10,000. It's not even a prize fund. $10,000 had to be paid by to Capablanca in order for him to play a match.
Yes, but I believe that the system they used there, then it was actually okay. There was no FIDE yet. I mean, okay, FIDE was okay in 20-something, okay, but basically FIDE. Okay, it was very, very weak still. So the system was like this. I mean, you want to play a match with me. It doesn't matter who you are. If you find a sponsor to put this money. I mean, sponsor are interested in a real match, not in somebody, a candidate of master who just loses to the champ. So it was some sort of automatic. But what Kasparov did was somehow worse. I mean, he tried to do something and then he ignored the results of what he did, and you understand. I mean, at least it was clear then. This was very. I'm the world champion. I own the title. So the conditions are like this, and it's of course not bad because okay, if you are strong enough to seem to be able to challenge me, then the sponsor will believe in you. If not,
well, let's be fair about one thing. Was Steinitz a lawful world champion? Remember, there was no FIDE. So Steinitz declared himself a worthy world champion or not?
Well, but Steinitz was looking for difficult opponents. Lasker was trickier, but Steinitz.
No, hold on.
Steinitz played the best.
Wait a sec. I'm not there. I'm not trying to say that Steinitz was more honest than Lasker, and Lasker was more honest than Capablanca or so on. It's not the point. The point is that the title of the world champion existed well before FIDE. FIDE never even existed before.
Yes.
Okay, so what comes first, a world champion or a FIDE? Of course, world champion, because this is far the strongest player in the world. What is FIDE? FIDE would actually never existed more than 20, 30 years, because nobody needs FIDE. In fact, today it's really obvious. However, thanks to Soviet Union, FIDE not only existed, it's prospered and became a power because of the Soviet Union. Without Soviet Union, it would be absolutely nothing. It would be a mailbox number. That's it. Nobody needs FIDE. The Soviet Union supported it well, and that's finally, so it's even wrestled with the help of Botvinnik, of course. It wrestled the world championship title from the world champions, and it became a property of FIDE. Based on what? Like how? Why FIDE said that this is our property, no longer world champion? No, we don't need this guy or that guy. FIDE single-handedly prevented Fischer to play a match with Karpov, because Fischer was a world champion. It was his title. In my opinion, FIDE had very little to do with the title.
I have a different story.
Okay. In the moment that FIDE decided that the title belongs to them,
Hold on. Let's talk about something. What is FIDE? FIDE is a bunch of bureaucrats from Zimbabwe and from what else?
More than that.
From Oceania, some kind of New Zealand or whatever, some other countries. And these bureaucrats that Illuminov and now probably Dvorkovich, I'm not so sure, but they're paying.
No, Sasha has a point. Sasha has a very strong point. Look,
hold on.
This is created by Öve. Öve was the guy to put blame on that he really created the Zimbabwe, whatever, Turkey, Romania. Romania was very strong at that time. But really, Sasha is right. Sasha has a strong point. In some way, whatever happened with Fischer and whatever happened with Nigel Short and Kasparov, and eventually whatever we are talking the last hour about, all these people, like Kasparov and his escapade in some way, it really brings us to the question, like, is it worth of having FIDE to have such an influence in all these world championship matches? Because somehow, since history goes sinusoidal, in some way, we always want to see the best playing each other. Is it correct, Sasha?
Absolutely correct. And
that's largely the case. Yeah.
Chess is by design. Whoever designed chess, and some people believe that it came to us from outer space, that human beings are not that smart to invent chess. It just couldn't happen. But somehow we have chess. And by nature of design of the game, it is not democratic game. There is a king. In chess, there is a king, which is stronger than all other pieces put together. Because
we don't care about
queen and rooks and everything else, but if you lose your king because of a checkmate, your game is done, it's over. So the king is not FIDE or any other organization, it's king. And whoever is a world champion, the strongest player is the king. And king make rules. Ask Donald Trump. He's the king of the United States. He makes the rules. He still has 3 weeks to go, and he has all the rules and so on. Everybody has to obey. So is a chess. King. Okay, here comes Soviet Union. No. We are democracy. We have everybody, people, they're all even. We are all even. And now Rhodesia has one voice, and United States have one voice, and Oceania has one voice, and Philippines have one voice, and Hungary has a voice. So now everybody has a voice. Romania, don't forget Romania. Romania has a voice.
So
I want to bring
went
Kanta
over
back.
that.
You know, I
So the
always
champion,
like this
so
guy
the world
Kanta. with his
champion
stuff.
is nothing. If Rhodesia and Oceania and all these puppets will say that no, Fischer is no longer world champion. This guy is not bad, is not good. Okay, he's no longer world champion. Oh, this guy is the world champion. Okay, now Karpov is world champion. Now this guy is world champion. Listen, it's never been like that. The Soviet Union brought a huge house in the chess world, and even now the Soviet Union doesn't exist any longer, but there is still Russia, and Russia through FIDE rules the world, it manipulates the world, it's talking about all these embassies around in every country to support such a candidate or such a federation and so on. I know this because I participated in Tromsø and I was trying to get votes for Garry Kasparov become president of FIDE. And it failed miserably because Illuminov bought all the federations, this little Rhodesia and so on and so on.
Don't forget about Romania.
Oh, Romania.
I know
Yes.
that our guy voted.
Canadian Chess Federation voted for Illuminov, not for Garry Kasparov. I had a big fight with Canadian Chess Federation. I lost it. People voted. Why? Because certain people are getting nice little arbiters gigs, and they get paid tickets, first class flying to some FIDE congresses.
Or afraid of consequences. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm at the age and certain status where I can say anything what I want. I'm not working for anybody. I represent only myself. I don't report to anybody. I'm financially independent. So therefore, I can say anything what I want. And if any idiot disagrees with me and would like to sue me, you are welcome. Please try. But don't advise you to do that.
But by the way, we were interviewed, sort of interviewed 2 days ago by Morozevich and his wife. And we also talked about the system of the World Championship, and he asked me which system I liked most. And basically, I like most the system which lasted from 65 to 95, I believe. It means, I mean, after interzonal, there is matches, not tournament.
Absolutely.
I like
I agree with you.
And matches would not be shorter than 10 games. And Morozevich confirmed that he never looked serious at any other thing, I mean, to analyze, but the matches. I mean, all the quarterfinals, finals. So I don't think that the system created by FIDE was so bad. I think it was imperfect when it had a candidates tournament.
Right.
But then with the matches, I think that was really, really fantastic to follow. I mean, I was watching the games in the Soviet magazines. I was following. I think that did very good for chess in general. And it was correct. I mean, okay, I twice played in the interzonal, and of course, I didn't have any chance to become a world title challenger. But still, it's some sort of, part of some things. Because Kjartarsson, for instance, it was a surprise when he shared the win in. And then he beat Korchnoi. In the first. So I think there should be some communication between the mere mortals like us.
Share should be bigger. I understand that share should be bigger. Not FIDE's share. In some way, there should be a consensus. And when we go back to this issue of Fischer, actually, it was totally detrimental for FIDE. Totally, he was flying to Africa from his own pocket, but creating all these things. And at the end of the day, this is one issue with the World Championship. There are many issues. Now FIDE is totally, arranging certain things. I know from the Turkish Chess Federation, the guys, they took a decision and they have written it in their book. Mm-hmm. They've said, like, we will pay flight tickets, accommodation, and food money for the delegates who will vote for us to get the Olympiad in Istanbul in year 2012. And the audit had nothing to do because he couldn't show this money into the budgets, but it was written into the decision book of the federation. I mean, you have to be totally crazy, you know, or you have to have incredible self-esteem to write it. And then when it, together with Gary, actually we made it to be published in New York Times. There was a Federation Congress where the guy, his name is Yazıcı, he was hopping around and he says like, well, this is not bribery. I mean, if this is not bribery, if you only pay the delegates of FIDE who vote for you, you know, to give you the Olympiad in Dresden year 2008 or Istanbul 2012, and what is a bribery? So the FIDE was made out of these people. And in, for instance, another time in the year 2012, when the, year 2010, when the books of the Federation were revealed, there were incredible entries for this guy Borg. He was sponsored by Turkish Chess Federation because the guy was really given, you know, in some way he was the bridge to channelize the money to Africa. Because you get Africa, you get the election. Now, you can't get South America because you have this guy Vega who controls everything. We already know all the equations in FIDE. I was just working in this, you know, in all these things. It's just even in the last election, I had my own role. But the main point, what Sasha says, I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, from World Championship to something else, do we need really some really central control of FIDE?
I think that Gary was absolutely right where he wanted to wrestle the World Championship title from FIDE. He started it with GMA in 1989, and he failed because, you know why? But yeah, earlier, I think 86, he created GMA, or 87. Yeah,
they played in 88 and 89, they had these titles.
Right.
I think it's a very good thing, but it was a parallel thing to the World Championship.
No, hold on. GMA never held World Championship. Gary was fighting that FIDE has to continue with Olympiads, with whatever they want to do, but the World Championship title has to belong to Grandmasters Association, which was GMA at the time, and it was doing very well. It has financial support from Bessel Koch, and there were very good tournaments organized at the time, and so on. Now, essentially, he was defeated by Grandmasters themselves because they had disagreement with Gary about how to proceed, about the agreement with FIDE. You probably know the story better than I do.
No, I don't actually. I don't.
Why am I lecturing all of you? Come on.
I haven't been in this world so much, so I remember it more at the time, maybe.
Okay, so he was defeated, as we all know, and
right.
So GMA still existed for some time because it has financial resources. It had Grandmaster. I think after Gary, I think Short was at
the first Timman or Short.
Short. Okay, so they were still like around, but they haven't really done much, and basically, I don't think that it probably disappears slowly. So then Gary did PCA thing once Short became challenger, because Gary calculated that it's the first time that the Soviet Grandmaster or Russian Grandmaster is playing against somebody from the Western world, and that would be good for chess around the world, and there would be a support. And guess what? The Grandmasters didn't support this PCA. They were like, okay, PCA, Gary Kasparov, there is a FIDE, so we will play in both tournaments here and there, or so on. So PCA, yeah, okay, it was trying hard from 93 to 96, I would say. So by 96, PCA became dormant and probably died. And so now we have what we have, I guess.
But you understand that actually Kasparov took advantage of FIDE in 93. Because the FIDE system provided him with a challenger.
Well, yeah, you're right. And Gary was, I don't know exactly when, but he regretted that he's done it. Remember, there are some.
He could, if he wanted to do something, he could have played with Karpov. Okay, for the sixth time but okay, for more money than usual.
Well, that was, I remember when Karpov brilliantly won Linares in '94.
Right.
It was fantastic, probably the best tournament of his life.
Mm.
Obviously, it was the best tournament of his life. And all the usual suspects were all playing in this tournament, including Kasparov himself and Shirov, Vishev, everybody was playing there.
No, Kasparov shared tied for the second.
Yes, right, but Karpov scored 11 out of 13, I believe.
Yeah.
So
really high. Yeah.
it was outstanding tournament. His performance, Ella, was probably 2,900, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a material advantage in all the games he drew, of one or more pawns.
Okay, so now that was a time to organize match between Karpov and Kasparov. Would be logical, right? Yeah. But they were both busy with their cycle, so they ended up. Karpov was playing Kamsky and defeated him easily, and Kasparov defeated Vishanan. So now it's for sure they have to, like in 2.5 minutes, agree to the match and start playing it. They started to negotiate and talk. In the meantime, Karpov had a couple of bad tournaments, so Kasparov declared now that there is no people interested to hold my match with Karpov because Karpov is very weak by now and there is no interest in that match or so on. Whether he was right or not, it's hard to say. Maybe he was right. But still, why not to play one more match with him? It would benefit Kasparov tremendously. He would likely win it.
It's obvious that he wanted to do it the easy way because, okay, I believe that in '94, if he had got, I don't know, a sponsorship of $5 million, he would have played with Karpov, but with something really spectacular. I mean, not 1 million, not 2 million, or 5 million.
But how they could play in '94 if there were cycles and each one was waiting for a challenge?
I know, but if this had happened in another moment, let's say in '96, when they were free somehow.
Exactly. But by '96, Karpov had bad results already.
Yeah, I mean, under these circumstances, Kasparov would have raised 5 million to play with Karpov.
Yes, he did. Yes, he would.
But in '96, he understood that he cannot raise more than 1 million. And to play again with Karpov, does he really want to play again with Karpov just for 1 million? I mean, isn't it easier?
Here is where FIDE is 100% wrong. What's happened is that when Capablanca, remember when he was world champion, he says, anybody who wants to play me, put on the table $10,000.
London rules, yeah? London 22 rules.
Yes.
London rules, right?
And
so Capablanca was never involved in finding money for a match. It was Challenger who had to. How Alokin found $10,000? He went to Argentina, and Argentina was heavily for Capablanca because he was a Spaniard from Cuba, right? So yeah. He was like a god in Argentina. So Argentina wanted to see how their favorite son will beat Alokin, and they were saying that it will be 6-0, maybe 6-1. So there was no contest for them. So they were $10,000. Here's $10,000, Mr. Alokin. Now play Capablanca. Now, what Kasparov did himself in, as a world champion, all of a sudden he had to find money for the matches. It's incredible. It's still a position where he dug himself in.
Because he was not a genuine world champion. He was the strongest player in the world, but his position as a world champion was somehow... it was some sort of outlaw. Okay, he was doubtlessly the strongest player for 20 years. But his title after '93 is...
It is because of FIDE. It was never a time in history when the strongest player For some bureaucrats would decide, yeah, he's the strongest player, but he's not a world champion. We have our own world champion. This is incredible situation where we found ourselves, where FIDE tells us who is a world champion, not who is the strongest player, but FIDE rules. Okay, this guy is a world champion. No, this guy is a stronger player. Okay, but he's not a world champion.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree that the situation with Fischer Karpov was okay. They could have done a lot better than what they did. But in principle, I think the system was working okay. And of course, the fact that there was Soviet Union also helped that the system goes okay. Even though Korchinoi was no Soviet anymore after 75. Yeah, the problems probably started slightly after the Soviet Union was dissolved. But still in '93, I mean, they could have just played the match under FIDE because the cycle had been organized. And
I agree. Basically, Kasparov helped Karpov quite a bit because he would play the same match with Shor under auspices of FIDE.
Yes.
Karpov would be nowhere. And it's unclear that Karpov would do so well in Linares in '94 because he was obviously on the rise. He defeated Timan. Also crazy match. There was some money disappeared and then they appeared. They were paid and there were non-paid, and that's one of the FIDE crazy matches. And also about this FIDE stupid championships in Iran, in where did it play? In what is it country? Libya or something?
Yes.
Libya was there.
Yes.
Oh, you were there. How was that?
Well, I mean, when I was Nigel Short second in the whatever, this World Championship stuff, it was obviously it was not the place to be. Where Kasimdzhanov won in a very interesting way, but always there were this kind of really interesting names pushed forward when it was Ilimzhinov time. Ilimzhinov was terrible. I mean, the guy is completely despicable, But already, whatever we talk, just there are many different aspects of incapacity of people with FIDE. I think the critical year was 1982. And it was Campomanes's reign. Campomanes was really very bad. Everything started to collapse.
Yeah, he followed and also normal Western gentlemen grandmeisters, and all of a sudden Campomanes and you could see the level how it started to go down. If you look at the games of Ewe and Olofsson and how well they played, and then once, remember, I demonstrated game by Campomanes who played Tal in one of these Olympiads. so you understand where is this?
Look, one night in Athens, I was I don't know. I think we were going to Libya, so we came back from Libya. I was talking with Nigel Short, and we start speaking about Omuku. And I say, Omuku played one good game in his life. He has beaten Tatai in some zonal tournament. And Nigel, he was very surprised. So we started to check Omuku games in the middle of the night. We got some kind of test drunk. The guy was absolutely unable to play. Now, Omuku, obviously, he had some job in the office. And now Omuku is a veteran sponsored by FIDE. Which I am laughing not only with my head, with my other parts, I am laughing. Now, then it comes the next stage. So I said, it didn't work with Omuku, but Campomanes played. Okay, then we get the computers, we check Campomanes. Well, it's just like another Omuku, a descendant of Omuku race. These people, they had nothing serious. With chess, nothing serious. They should never have anything with FIDE. Really, we are talking kind of maybe bad about Owe, what he could do, what he didn't do, or what kind of organization he created. But Owe was Owe, after all. Olafsson was Olafsson. Let's not forget that Olafsson went to speak about Igor, Victor Lubovich's son. He went to speak with Brezhnev. he was taking his position serious. Nobody could say about this, about that. Little by little, it affected the other people. For instance, I knew in Serbia, extremely good organizer, Pelin, his name was. I don't know if you ever heard about it. He was really going into every hotel. He was the organizer of Brunachka Banya, one of the real tournaments, which I played, one of the last editions. He was really there, not for himself, in some way more for this. And he was getting his share at that. Then easily from this Campomanes to Makropoulos, from Makropoulos to whatever, Ilyumzhinov or whoever, puppet in their hand, Yazigi, all these little people, really, or the Romanian guy, whatever, Domnu, he has double name, his surname with a slash now. He's all in the, I played.
Who's that?
Mihail may know the name. Domnu is they're not, what is the name of the guy who was with ECU and now in FIDE?
Dobronoteanu, yes?
Dobromontean, okay. I myself played in Romania non-stop. I never saw such a guy. It's a very rare animal.
No,
from the chess world.
No, he's a few years younger than me, and as a junior, he used to play.
I can understand. He played some chess, but then he hibernated for a long time.
No. Actually, 1 year ago or 2 years ago, we both played with him in a Blitz tournament.
Yes.
No,
everybody plays in the pictures with this new guy, Dvorkovich. I gave an interview to Surov. Hey, his chess capacity is the games with his babushka. Now don't tell me like this Romanian guy is a chess player.
No. But he just participated. It was just by surprise that he came to a Blitz tournament. Okay, I beat him relatively easily, but with Maria it was very tricky. Actually, he played well, but he lost on time. No, I mean.
We will not criticize Maria. Maria, we keep with her artwork and with anything. But okay, look now, it's a serious issue. These guys started to come more and more. Before there was a quality of a chess pro.
Mm-hmm.
Either you should come from chess, a mediocre player, this much or that much.
Even from the
or you were that for a long time. Kanda, with his stamp from 1945, Mihail knows the joke better than anyone. Kanda was Kanda. He was in the Chess Federation for a long time. He was like, been there, done that. And all of a sudden started to have some mushrooms. There is this guy, Baldabayev, yeah? Who is Baldabayev? Whatever his name is.
Mm-hmm.
He was the right hand of Ilyumzhinov. Still he is in FIDE. Ikniki.
There is no body, but the arm. The right arm is still there. There is no body anymore. But right arm.
Oh, well, this is the Hydra. The criminal organization of Hydra. You get the head off, and then many head comes off.
But talking about the year Campomanes came to power, I have a funny anecdote. I was in Sardinia a few years. It was before Maria, 5 years ago maybe. And Friedrich Olafsson was playing there. He was 80. And they had this, they call it Reykjavik quiz. It's some sort of questions about general culture. And then one of the questions was, who became a FIDE president in 82? And I was not very sure. And then I hear Friedrich, who was just 2 meters away from me, they say in low voice, I will never forget that year. And I understood that it was the moment when Campomanes faced him. No, but he was brilliant. I will never forget that year.
Yeah, he was unconscious. Yeah, he was. Yeah, the words were going out of his mouth. No, this is criminal. I was talking with Eric Lovron. He remembers it like today. It's the first time the German Chess Federation President Kinzel was next door to him, and already some money of was changing hands. And Eric, he was really shocked. Imagine this is 1982. Now it's a little bit anachronistic. We are just judging this times, with our new values. In 1982, whatever was done, in some countries, people would be hanged.
I met Kampamanis in this Lucerne Olympiad in 1982 when he became a president. At that time, he was basically a nobody, and somebody introduced me. We played a few blitz games. He was actually very weak. And what he said is about himself, he said that he is a talented wood pusher.
No, I could mention Marcos. Let's not go deeper, He was a very, very good implanted by Marcos.
Okay.
Remember Imelda Marcos with the
Marcos.
incredible...
Yes, of course.
Yeah, it was Marcos, and his
No,
wife.
was he Imelda or Ferdinand?
No, Imelda is the wife.
I know.
Yeah.
It's closer to Imelda or to Ferdinand. I just want to make things clear.
Well, I don't know. In my age, I also confuse all these people.
Okay, guys, I think we will definitely leave it for next our time to discuss the construction of Carlson. And
We will deconstruct Vlad Tkachiev, who didn't attain this meeting. It's time for deconstruction of Vlad Tkachiev.
How to rebuff a gambit that actually does look pretty good for Black, but Black didn't. White managed to stop the attack somehow. So
no, but there was also this Armageddon, which is not such a blitz actually. 10 against 7. It was yesterday or before yesterday. Aronian and Kiruzia. I mean, looking at this game of today and that game, I have the feeling that people forgot. They didn't forget how to attack. They forgot that they are allowed to attack and that they should attack. Somehow, I don't know. I mean, give this position not to Kasparov, not to Tal. Give it to Simagin, I mean, or some guy. I mean,
or Vasyukov. You remember Vasyukov?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he could really attack. He was particular.
You understand? I mean, but Aronian, I'm okay. He gets a winning attacking position. Firuzia played some nonsense there. The queen was on a6, and then instead of just going and mating the young guy, he had time. He starts regrouping, and he regrouped until he lost the end game. I mean, how can we do that? I mean, you just push G5, G6, and okay, then everything is but it's no. Carlson, of course, he played an interesting game, but then something went wrong. Probably, at least Carlson tried, but he was very strong.
Carlson always tries.
No.
Okay, let's just leave it for next week because there are a lot of talk about Carlson and comparing Carlson's best game and Kasparov's best games, and we'll see which way it will go. Okay, Ken, any words in defense of FIDE?
FIDE does a great job trying to organize chess on all levels. Obviously, FIDE has been most impacted by the inability to organize an over-the-board Olympiad, which deprived it of a lot of...
Yeah, it's a big strategy. Agreed. So let's hope for better times soon.
Right, let's hope for face-to-face times.
I would like to, of course, extend my invitations to all of you for next Saturday.
That would be wonderful.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Looking forward to coming. We'll continue deconstructions of everything and everybody.
Yes, okay, sure. Maybe over the board, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All the best to our listeners. All the best to you. See you next Saturday.
Okay, thank you again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Chess program, IBM TV, with Sasha Star and our esteemed guests. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right.